In this video, I'm going to give you my list of top 10 baseball players over the age of 30 that are most likely to end up Hall of Famers. Stick with me and let's see if we agree. Hey everybody. Thanks again for joining me on my channel, Brutus on Baseball. In this video, we're talking my top 10 players that are over the age of 30 most likely to make the Hall of Fame. Now, before we jump in, I have excluded the guys that I consider to be locks for the Hall of Fame. So we're not going to be talking about the careers of guys like Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer. Those guys are already in, I can guarantee it. And I'm also not going to talk about guys that may not be considered universally to be locks for the Hall of Fame. Guys like Clayton Kershaw and Mike Trout, even though they haven't played that long, trust me, they're going to be there. And Yadier Molina is another one. A lot of people are not as high on his career as others, but he's got such a big following that I don't see how he couldn't get in there, especially being considered the best defensive catcher of his generation. So we're going to skip those guys and we're going to go straight into the guys that are either a little bit younger, under 35, but well on their way, or over 35, and they're just on the cusp. They need to have some more good years. I'll just do a quick run through of the things that I look at to evaluate whether a player's on a Hall of Fame path or not. The first is obviously his age and the counting stats relative to his age. How much time does he have left to be able to put those stats together to pass some of the key milestones? His WAA wins above average and his WAR wins above replacement. I prefer to look at WAA, which is the number of wins that player's worth more than the average baseball player in that season, whereas WAR is the number of wins above the replacement player level, which is some guy that would be called up from AAA to replace you if that player were not on the team. I think comparing the best players in the league to the average major leaguer makes a lot more sense. And then I'm going to look at any projections, anything else that they could do in their career, what milestones they might be able to reach, and what their accolades have been up to that point. The first guy on my list is Joey Votto, one of the most popular Canadians playing the game today. Now, if you ask me, Joey Votto should be a lock for the Hall of Fame, but not everyone agrees. He's got a little bit of work to do because his counting stats are a little bit lower than others. Now, Votto's reaching the end of his career. He's slowing down quite a bit. He's 38 years old. He does have 2,000 hits, which is a key milestone, but he's pretty far from getting 2,500, which may hold him back in some conversations. But the key to him is actually his slash line. The reason why his hits are low is because his walk totals are so incredibly high. He's got that dreamy slash line of 300 batting average, 400 on-base percentage, and 500 slugging percentage. Good for a 146 OPS plus, which means he's almost 50% better than the average hitter in his career. His WAA is 38, and his WAR is 64. Anybody that has a WAR over 60 has a really good shot of getting into the Hall of Fame. Over 70, you're almost a lock at that point. Projections, there's not a whole lot to project for Joey Votto anymore, but he does have that slash line that looks really great to a lot of voters when the time comes. He's been a 6-time All-Star, 1-time MVP, 2-time top 5 MVP guy, and 1 Gold Glove Award. Like I said, in my opinion, he's already there, but I know to a lot of people he's not quite. Next guy on the list is a pitcher, and I see him the same as Joey Votto. To me, he's already in, not to everybody, or a lot of people just haven't paid attention to his career as a whole, and that's Zack Greinke. Greinke's also 38 years old. He's starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel for his career as well, but he does have 220 wins and 3,000 strikeouts, so he's already reached some important milestones. He's got a 42 WAA and 70 WAR, so he's actually better than Joey Votto in some of those respects. I just put him as number 2 because he's not as recognizable in some ways. He's played for a lot of different teams, whereas Votto's been a Red his whole career. Projections, he does have the 70 plus WAR, but the way he's pitching, he should be able to maintain that and stay above 70. And he's got the 3,000 Ks, which is huge for pitchers. He's been a 6-time All-Star. He won 1 Cy Young Award and finished in the top 5 2 more times, 6 Gold Gloves, and 2 Silver Sluggers. Those 2 Silver Slugger wins is pretty interesting for a pitcher. So not only has he been a great pitcher, he's actually provided some value on offense as well. Now, looking forward to the rest of the list, these guys are not locks, in my opinion. They still have some work to do, but they're well on their way to being there. The third player on my list is Nolan Arenado. He's 31 years old, so pretty young still, but he's doing great with the counting stats. 1,500 hits, 300 home runs, 122 OPS plus. But combine that with his defensive prowess, a complete package for a player. His WAA is 32, his WAR is 49. He's got a lot of years to put more together, and I expect that he will. Because of that, he's got a chance to get over 2,500 hits. Who knows? He could approach 500 home runs, probably end up around 400 to 450 though, and he has a really good chance of accumulating over 70 WAR for his career. Already, he's a 7-time All-Star, 3-time top 5 MVP finisher, 9 gold gloves. And those are well-deserved, unlike a lot of the gold gloves that have been given out in the past. He's a 5-time platinum glove winner. That means the best in the entire league at his position. And a 4-time silver slugger. So he does it on both sides of the ball. Personally, I don't see how he couldn't be a Hall of Famer, but I still think he needs a couple more years of good production, which he's been showing he can do. Next up on the list is another Cardinal, Paul Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt actually would have been a little bit lower on this list until this year. He really had a phenomenal breakout season so far in 2022. He's 34 years old. He's got 1,700 hits, 300 home runs. So his counting stats are a little bit on the low side. But with how good he's been at the age of 34, who knows what he can do at 35, 36. Maybe he can keep this going for a couple years. He's got a 144 OPS plus. His WA is 35. His WAR is 55. Those numbers are a little bit higher than Arenado, but I put him lower on the list because he's 2 years older. They should be higher. And I think he has less of a chance compared to Nolan at keeping that pace up. Projections, he's easily going to pass 2,000 hits. He could get up to 2,500 hits. We'll have to see. And I think he could accumulate over 70 WAR as well for his career. He's a 7-time All-Star. 3 times he's finished in the top 5 of the MVP award. 4-time Gold Glove winner and 4-time Silver Slugger winner. So again, good on both sides of the ball. Next up on my list is somebody who I think gets more recognition than Paul Goldschmidt, but I think he's one step behind at this point. And he's 2 years younger, so that's okay. And that's Freddie Freeman. Freeman is 32 years old. He's got more hits than Paul Goldschmidt at 1,800, fewer home runs at 280, and a 139 OPS plus. So a little bit under Goldschmidt, but not too far to make that much of a difference. Where he does lack a little bit is his WA is only 25 and his WAR is 47. So those numbers, he just has a little bit more to make up. And that's why I put Goldschmidt one level higher than Freeman in this list. But because he's 2 years younger, I think he has a better chance at getting 2,500 hits and over 60 WAR for his career. He just needs to keep doing it for a little bit longer. So far in his career, 5 All-Stars, 1 MVP, 2 top 5 MVP finishes, a Gold Glove, 3 Silver Slugger awards, and that 1 World Championship from last year. Number 6 on my list is Giancarlo Stanton. Stanton is somebody that in his 20s I would have had way higher on the list, but he's slowed down the last few years because of injuries. But I still think he's got a really good shot at getting 500 home runs, which will be a key piece to his conversation. He's 32 years old. He's lagging in the hits, 1,300 hits, but he's got 370 home runs already. I've never seen anybody hit a ball harder than Stanton does on a regular basis. And he's got a 143 OPS plus, well above league average. His WAA is 27 and his WAR is 45, so a little bit on the low side. But he does have that chance at 500 home runs and maybe even a 60-plus WAR career. 5 All-Star games, 1 MVP back when he was with the Marlins, and another top 5 MVP finish. 2 Silver Slugger awards. I think that his candidacy is going to hang solely on the number of home runs that he hits, which again hangs solely on how long he stays on the field. Number 7 on my list is Jose Altuve. He's 32 years old as well, but his game is completely different. He's got 1,800 hits, so way ahead compared to Stanton. But he still has 180 home runs, a 126 OPS plus, and 263 stolen bases. So he's a much more well-rounded player, more of a leadoff guy, which is what he is. His WAA is only 23, so that's a little bit low, and 44 WAR is okay. It's still on pace for a 60 WAR career. The key with him is I think he has the best chance of anybody on this list of getting 3,000 hits. We'll see what happens. He has to stay on the field and keep being productive. But if he can do that, he has that chance. What's interesting is he could actually have a career that's very similar to Craig Biggio, another Houston Astros second baseman. He's got 8 All-Star appearances, 3 batting titles, which is pretty big too. 1 MVP, another top 5 MVP finish, a Gold Glove, 5 Silver Sluggers, and a World Championship. Whether you want to count it or not, it still does count. Now, the next few guys on the list, I had to make a decision. Go with guys that are on the younger side, just turned 30, or go with the guys that have more established careers, but they've been slowing down the last few years because of injuries. So typically, I go with the guys that have a little bit longer track record. But you may disagree, and please, if you do, let me know in the comments below. But the next guy that I went with in the number 8 position is Chris Sale. Chris Sale has struggled lately to stay on the field, but when he was on the field, he was dominant. He's 33 years old now. He's only at 114 wins, so he's really got to pick up that number, especially historically comparing the pitchers in the Hall of Fame. But he does have 2,000 strikeouts already, well on his way to 3,000, and a 141 ERA plus, showing that he's way better than league average. He's got a WAA of 30 and a WAR of 46, so he just needs to get back on the mound, and maybe he can build on those numbers. Projections, there's a chance he could get to 200 wins. 3,000 Ks shouldn't be a problem. 60-plus WAR, if he can keep pitching, I think is attainable as well. 7-time All-Star, 6 times he's been in the Cy Young top 5, showing that he has had a long peak of being one of the best pitchers in the league. And he's got the 1 World Series championship as well. Number 9 on my list is Garrett Cole, 31 years old. So he's 2 years younger than Chris Sale, but he's got 125 wins. He's on a better pace there, but only 1,800 strikeouts and a 128 ERA+. So Sale was the better pitcher of the two for longer in their career. It just depends which one's going to stay healthy longer. Projections, he has a chance for 200-plus wins, 3,000 Ks, and a 50-plus WAR. And his accolades, 5-time All-Star, and again, he's had 5 top 5 Cy Young Award finishes, showing that he as well has been one of the best pitchers in the league consistently. And the last guy on this list, I will admit, a bit of a personal favorite of mine. I would love to see him stay on the field, and that's Evan Longoria. Longoria has had a hard time staying on the field the last few years. He's only 36, so he should have a couple years left in him. But if his body's starting to deteriorate, harder to stay on the field, then so be it. Longoria had a great start to his career and was definitely one of those guys that was on pace in his 20s, but he fizzled in his 30s and just hasn't been able to have that consistency. He does have 1,850 hits, so he's getting close to that 2,000 hit mark, and 325 home runs, and a 120 OPS plus. Now with those milestones, he doesn't have a whole lot of time left to get those, so we'll see if he really is able to attain bigger numbers at all. His WAA is 31, and his WAR is 57, so right on the cusp, getting close to that 60 number, but not quite there. Projections, it depends on if he can stay on the field this year and if he decides to play beyond this year. But he could, in theory, get to 2,000 hits and 60-plus WAR. His accolades, he's a 3-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year in 2008, 3-time Gold Glove winner, and 1 Silver Slugger Award. So his accolades are not quite there compared to the other players as well. But that is why he's number 10 on this list. So I do have some honorable mentions. 2 of these honorable mentions are guys that are nearing the end of their career, and they're just not quite there. I don't think they're going to be Hall of Fame guys, but I did want to recognize them for having the phenomenal careers that they've had. One of those guys is Adam Wainwright. He's 40 years old, 190 wins. He's got over 2,000 strikeouts and a 120 ERA+. His numbers don't blow you away, especially when you look at his WAA of 23 and his WAR of 43. But he was just so good, so consistent for so long, I had to throw him on here. He could get to 200 wins, you never know. And his accolades, 3-time All-Star, 4 times that he was the top 5 in Cy Young Awards, 2 Gold Gloves, and 1 championship. Now, with Wainwright on one side, somebody that I wanted to recognize, the other side of the coin is a guy that has stumbled the last few years, a guy that should be in the conversation for Hall of Fame, but due to his own actions, it's going to be really hard for him to generate positive conversations about the Hall of Fame, and that is Robinson Cano. Based on Cano's stats, he should already be a lock for the Hall of Fame, but this is a guy that's already been suspended several times for PED use. And in addition to that, his career has completely fallen off at the age of 39. He does have 2,600 hits, 335 home runs, a 125 OPS plus, great numbers for a second baseman, 35 WAA, and 69 WAR, numbers that should be Hall of Fame numbers. Projections, I thought maybe he'd get 70-plus WAR, but over the course of the season, he's been dropped by the Mets, he's been dropped by the Padres, and now the Braves. So I just don't see anything else happening for him. He was an 8-time All-Star. 4 times he finished in the top 5 of the MVP race. 2-time Gold Glove winner, 5-time Silver Slugger Award, and 1 World Championship. Guy should be a Hall of Famer, but I highly doubt it at this point. Now, the other side of the coin are the guys that are a little bit younger, in the 30 to 35 range, and they are dominant players, great players, but they just started so late or had a lot of trouble staying on the field. And so the conversation really comes down to whether you value longevity for a career or peak value for a career. The problem is that most Hall of Fame voters have typically valued longevity way more than peaks. There are some exceptions to this, like Sandy Koufax had a really short peak, but such a high peak that he made it in fairly easily. But then you have other guys that had similar careers, like Johan Santana, who just had no support whatsoever for the Hall of Fame, despite being just as dominant over a short peak. And that's why I didn't include these guys in the top 10 list. They just haven't done it for long enough, or stayed healthy for long enough, so we'll have to see where their careers go. The first one is Aaron Judge. Now, Aaron Judge is only 30 years old, so he definitely has a chance to propel himself into the top 10 in coming years, especially considering the year that he's having this year. But let's be realistic. He's 30 years old, and he only has 700 hits and 200 home runs. Those are quite low numbers for somebody that's already 30. But he does have that 157 OPS plus, showing that when he is on the field, he is one of the best hitters in the league. His WAA is 23, his WAR is 32, so he's got a lot of ground to make up in the years that he has left. Projections, could he get to 500 home runs? Could he get to 50 plus WAR? Maybe 60 plus WAR? Who knows? His accolades so far, he does have 4 All-Star appearances, Rookie of the Year award in 2017, 2 times he was in the top 5 of the MVP, and 2 Silver Sluggers. So, great career so far. He just started so late and has had some health trouble. We'll have to see where it goes from here. And I'm sure a lot of you have guessed already who this last guy is on here. You may be upset with me about it. Feel free to leave comments. But that guy is Jacob deGrom. Now, deGrom is 33 years old, but he's had some of the same issues, a late start to his career, and a lot of trouble, especially in recent years, staying healthy and on the field. In addition to that, he's also had a lot of trouble getting run support by his team to get more wins. Voters are a bit more savvy these days. They know that wins should be a team stat, not just a pitcher stat. So they look at the peripheral numbers. But the problem is that he's 33 years old. He only has 77 wins at the age of 33. Who knows if he can even get to 100 wins, to be honest, right? So would anybody vote somebody into the Hall of Fame that has less than 100 wins in their career, despite being one of the best pitchers during his peak? We'll just have to wait and find out. He does have 1,500 strikeouts and a 157 ERA plus, showing that he's one of the best pitchers in the league as well when he's on the field. His WAA is 29 and his WAR is 40. And those numbers are as high as they are because he was that much better than his peers during the years that he did pitch consistently. Projections for him, it's really hard to say. 100 wins? Maybe. 150 wins? Maybe. We'll have to see whether he can stay on the field or not. 2,000 strikeouts? Probably. I think he could probably get that. 50 plus WAR? At his pace, he probably could do that too. I've said it over and over. He just needs to be on the field. Accolades so far, 4-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year in 2014, 2-time Cy Young Award winner, and another 3rd time that he was in the top 5. So, phenomenal pitcher. But like I said before, Johan Santana has very similar accolades, and he didn't even sniff the Hall of Fame, let alone get 5% of the vote in the year that he was eligible. So that is my opinion for the top 10 players over the age of 30 that are most likely to reach the Hall of Fame, plus a couple extra that are on their way but need to stay healthy or on their way out and just didn't quite make it there. Let me know in the comments below whether you agree, whether you disagree, whether you have some thoughts of your own. I'd love to be able to share that, and I will answer back. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, check out all my other videos. I'll have other videos about guys in different age brackets, under 30, plus retired players, and who I think is most likely to make the Hall of Fame. So please check those out. Come back often, comment often. And until next time, keep talking baseball, and we'll see you around.